So here's an example of what can happen if you're not paying attention to your work as you're going. My mind was elsewhere, and I've managed to put in this fold, wrinkle, whatever you want to call it, ruffle, into the material. It's not a showstopper. If it wasn't that it was a relatively ornate couter, I'll probably just throw it away and start again, but I figured I'll try and make use of it and show how to remove these from the material when you get them in there. This is a particularly bad example. It really shouldn't get like this. I just wasn't paying attention, frankly, and was pushing things a bit hard, and that happened. So let's see how we can take this out. In close-up here you can see that just about everything you don't want to happen has happened. It's not just folded on itself, it's folded back on itself. So we've got to be particularly careful here. If I just go in and hit that down, all that's going to happen is I'm going to squash it down and cause a mushroom. So what I want to do is gently tease it open. There's a couple of ways you can do that. My preferred technique is I'll warm this all up and then use the edge of the rounded side of the anvil and start right back here, just tapping that down. And what I hope is it will open these out, and then we can get into this bit and tidy that up. So let's give it a try and see how we do. A quick word about the heat as well, just before I get going. I don't want to heat just the fold. I need these bits of material to move back. What's happened here is that's moved in about ½ an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. I need those back out. Otherwise, if I just heat this, I'm just going to squash that. So I need the heat to be a nice general shape around here. So with that in mind, I'll give it a warm up and we'll start. So we're going to put that on and just start to tap towards the back. This is opening that bit a bit like a wedge, gently. If it cools off, if it cools, reapply the heat. So you can see I've started at the back here to just soften it off, but it needs more warmth. So you can see it's starting to open up, getting this side to move slowly, this side to move, but what's happening is I'm pushing it over itself, a bit like a wave closing down, and if I'm not careful, that will shutter in. Now a way to get around that is to keep going gently that way with the action, and I might be able to draw it down, or quite simply warm it up and get a screwdriver in there and separate it out a bit. So I'm going to try that because it's a bit simpler. There's no point in making it hard on myself, and we'll see how we go. So a bit of warmth in there, we'll just push this open. There we go. And give this bit that was folding over a little tap down. There we are, starting to get there now, starting to see a bit of the proper shape coming back into this. So I'm going to give it one more touch just to get this piece here out the way, and then we should be home free. We're just about there now, and what I'm going to do, because this is opening up nicely now, I'm going to move to the beak or the bick of the anvil here so it supports it as we open it up. So the theory on this next part is I'm going to warm this up gently, and by using the rounded edge of the beak or bick or horn here, what I can start to do is touch it down, working my way along it, and the edges will be supported by this, stop them crumpling and folding. Now I've opened it out a touch on the edge of the anvil here, and we should, maybe in a couple of passes, just have to watch this corner here, be back to being able to sort of calm the material down and carry on as we were. True to form, I did that last part without having the camera recording. All I've done is take care of those parts there, smoothing them out, getting rid of the wrinkles that are there, all the time making sure I'm not pushing it back in this top portion here. And all I'm going to do now is give it a reheat and slowly and gently tease that out. So carry on tapping that down. Over from the back. Walk it forward as you go. Keep an eye there. Start to see it coming back onto itself. Get rid of that. Back over. You'll notice I'm not wailing into this and hitting it as hard as I can. I'm trying to tease this material back and keep its original thickness. I don't want to just smash it down now it's almost there and thin it down by 1/2 mil. I want to just get this back gently to where it needs to be. A nice broad heat, make sure everything's moving. There we go, just about done. Just needs smoothing off and we're finished. So there we have it, all done. We've lifted the crease out that was in this piece of material here. A little bit of planishing to do, but you can see it is possible to lift out those creases. So one final point to this is obviously we've moved this material back or in and then put it back. And that's put a fair bit of stress and requirement onto a piece that otherwise would have hardly been moved at all. And I've read and been involved in conversations and listened to people talk about whether or not we ought to stress relieve this. Not so much anneal it, but stress relieve it. From what I understand of materials like this, now this particular case here is a mild steel, there's not a lot gained from stress relieving a mild steel, certainly at this stage. What I tend to do with all pieces like this that are moved is once I've finished, I heat it up to a nice bright orange heat all over and then allow it to air cool, and that will help stress relieve the piece. We probably have piled some bits and pieces in here and made a new grain just about in a mild steel because there's so little carbon in it, but it doesn't hurt. It won't, if I'm wrong and it doesn't need stress relieving, it doesn't hurt the material, and if we're right, it relieves the stress across this part here. So I'm not doing any soaking or stress relieving at the moment. I'm going to carry on and just keep an eye on it here, and then when the whole thing's done I'll continue with the standard sort of stress relief that I tend to do, which is just heat this to a bright orange and allow it to air cool on pretty much all mild steel pieces that are moved around a fair bit. So I hope that was useful, and you can see it's not the end of the world if you put a bit in there. In realistic terms, I would have probably thrown this away. I'm only about 15 minutes into this and it's taken longer to lift that out. But I thought it would make for a good video. We can see how to get smaller versions of those out of things like the edges of helmets and so on, where you're not paying attention and they wrinkle. They're not the end of the world and they can be lifted out.